If you've ever written any JavaScript, I guarantee you've run into this problem, null and undefined. They look kind of the same, they can cause really similar bugs, and honestly, they're just a huge point of confusion. But what if I told you the difference is actually super simple, and that mastering it is one of the keys to writing cleaner code and absolutely acing your next tech interview? Well, today, we're going to clear this up for good.
Yeah, if you've had this exact thought pop into your head while you're debugging, you are definitely not alone. I mean, on the surface, they seem almost identical, right? But in the world of JavaScript, the difference between them means everything.
So, why do we care so much about this? Because this is one of the first questions you're likely to get in any JavaScript technical interview. Getting this one right isn't just about knowing a fact. It shows you actually understand the language on a much deeper level.
All right, so let's tackle it head on. What is the real difference between null and undefined? We're about to break down the answer so you can nail this thing every single time.
Okay, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this slide. The entire difference comes down to this one simple idea. Undefined is automatic, but null is deliberate. Think of it like this. Undefined is an empty box that JavaScript just hands you. You haven't put anything in it yet. But null is a box you took, looked at, and chose to leave empty on purpose.
So let's talk about undefined first. This is JavaScript's default setting. It's the value that the language itself assigns when you, the developer, haven't given it any other instructions yet.
A variable gets this value all on its own. For instance, if you declare a variable but don't give it a value, or maybe a function doesn't explicitly return anything, JavaScript steps in and says, hey, I see this thing exists, but it's empty for now. And that empty for now status, that's undefined.
And now for null. If undefined is what JavaScript does by default, null is the complete opposite. It will never appear by accident. It's a value that you, the programmer, have to explicitly assign to something to say, I am intentionally making this variable empty.
It really is about an intentional absence of a value. You'll often use null to initialize a variable when you know it's going to hold an object later, but it just doesn't right now. It's like a deliberate placeholder, a signal to yourself and other developers that, hey, this is empty on purpose.
All right, that's enough theory. The best way to make this stuff stick is to actually see it in some code. This is where it'll really click.
Okay, look at this. We declare the variable a, and that's it. We don't assign anything to it. So when we log it, we get undefined. That's that automatic behavior we talked about. Now look at the variable b. We are deliberately assigning null to it. So when we log that, we get null. See? One is automatic, the other is a choice you make. That's the whole ballgame right there.
So why is this tiny distinction so important? I mean, who cares, right? Well, knowing when to check for null versus when to check for undefined can be the difference between writing brittle, buggy code and writing clean, predictable, professional code. First off, it helps you avoid all sorts of logic errors. You can check for undefined to see if a value is maybe never set, while you can check for null to handle cases where you intentionally received an empty result, like from a database. Mastering this shows you really get JavaScript's fundamentals, which, of course, is exactly why it's such a classic interview question. So that brings us to a practical question for you. Since null is a tool you have to actively choose to use, when is it the right choice in your code? A really common case is to initialize a variable that you know will hold an object later on. What are some of your go-to uses for it? Let us know down in the comments. And hey, if this explainer finally made the difference click for you, show some support and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks for watching.